Okay, thank you. Thank you, Veronica. And thank you everyone for joining. My name is Aleš Novák. I'm team lead of one of L3 teams. And in this talk, I'm going to briefly present what the L3 team does, or level 3 support team does, in short L3, and how the service we provide looks like and how perfect it is to be part of this team. Let's get on it. So let me start with a question you might have asked yourself already. So if SUSE is an open source company, most of the products we build and provide are open source, and anyone is able to download almost everything for free of any charge. Where do we make the money then? And let me try to at least partially answer a question. As you might have guessed, we sell support and services. Here I'm going to focus on the support part. So what the support means actually? It means when you are a paying customer and you encounter a problem with the product of SUSE, we will solve it, or we'll do our best to solve it. Which means if you have a problem in the configuration, we will try to correct it. If the problem is in a wrong expectation, we will try to adjust it. And last but not least, if there really is a problem of the software, if there is a bug, we will fix it. And one maybe important part is that while many of Linux/open source software users like to run the latest and greatest version of the particular software, most of our enterprise customers are not. Why? Part of the reason might be that they need to they base their products on SUSE provided products. They need to certify them on that, and before the certification process is over, the version of the software might be completely elsewhere, so it's already outdated. So this is one important property of the work in support in general, that we need to support things which look pretty ancient. We speak about 2.6 kernel version, just to give an example. So how the support organization and support levels look like in SUSE? So in this picture, on the top there are the customers, and they contact our support organization. Support is split into two layers. Level 1, also called the frontline. Those are the people who, in many cases, even pick up the phones from the customers. They try to resolve the, let's say, more obvious issues like configuration problems, etc. If they can't fix the issue, they hand it over to level 2 support, so-called backline. And these people are trying to reproduce the issue. They are able to resolve even very complicated problems. But if they can't, and if they decide that there really likely is a problem in the software, there might be a bug, they hand it over to level 3, to us. And we try to resolve the issue on the source code level. We don't necessarily have to resolve the issue on our own, and in many cases we are not able to do so. But we act as an interface of the whole engineering, or to be exact, engineering and innovation, in short, E&I organization. And if we can't resolve it on our own, we always know which particular subject matter expert to ask for help. Okay, let me bring up a few assorted facts about L3. So as mentioned, L3 is a part of the engineering, and we act as an interface of it. We support almost the whole variety of the products provided by SUSE. As was somehow visible in the previous picture, we are not in the direct contact with the customers. We only are interacting with our internal ones, which means in most cases customer support and partner engineering. And as said, our colleagues in support do a terrific job. So if most of the issues are resolved by them, we only get a minority of the tickets raised by the customers. But if we are eventually triggered, in most cases, there really is a problem in the code. And if the problem is identified and the fix is found, we, L3, have a unique responsibility to provide a fixed version of the particular package, so-called PTFs, and I'm going to describe what it means later. Few more assorted facts. The L3 support team currently consists of around 30 support engineers. We are split into 3 teams, which are spread worldwide, very much everywhere. In Czech Republic, it currently means 8 people, most of which are in this Prague office. We support the enterprise products, which means we don't support OpenSUSE, for example. We support only the released ones. And also there are scenarios we are not able to support, basically, which may mean, for example, tainted kernels, really outdated versions. These are out of our scope. To give an example of how the workload may look like, as it's said here, we get around 50 incidents per week. Incidents, 50 bugs, escalations, call it as you wish. And we have usually between 300 and 400 running incidents at the given point of time, which means we have to be able to context switch pretty quickly. And we also have some additional responsibilities. Among others, there is the reactive support, where we basically supply maintenance updates after the product is in the reactive mode, in the reactive LTSS mode. Okay, let me describe what the already mentioned PTF means, because this is the outcome of a successfully run escalation or bug. PTF is a customer-specific fix provided even before the patch meets the maintenance update. But nevertheless, it's still fully supported, which means customers are encouraged to use this PTF version, so that can be delivered quite fast. The PTF, we strive to make the PTF a minimal fix on top of the already released version to reduce the probability of introducing regression. PTFs are digitally signed, which means customer really should not be afraid of installing it. And we do the tracking of all the fixes we deliver in order to be able to not reintroduce the problem if the customer encounters another. This might not be said the best, but this is meant to pile the fixes for a particular customer on each other. And as I've already mentioned, if the LTSS version is past the active maintenance, it reaches so-called reactive support. And since then, there are no further maintenance updates. But if customers are interested in obtaining the fixes, those are provided through these PDFs as well. Okay, and now I have some more facts, which originally this page was named the pros of L3. So in my opinion, the L3 offers a unique opportunity to look into the wide scope of problems, which means if someone is interested in open source software in general, L3 does really offer a great way to become familiar with whatever you like. If it's a kernel, if it's software-defined infrastructure, if it's public cloud environments, in L3 you can encounter all of it. So we start with kernel crashes and maybe with, as mentioned, HANA deployments in public cloud environments with several terabytes of memory, all these interesting stuff. Another thing I fancy about L3 is that everyone is free to pick what suites his interest the best. So we have one large pile of bugs, and we are almost free to pick. What it does require from the engineers is the ability to quickly look into a piece of software we haven't heard before, written in language we barely seen, programming language, I mean, because, as said, we operate on source code level. And a huge advantage of being in L3 is that we always have the rest of ENI to ask for help. And as said, we are only 30 people. We can't understand the whole variety of products SUSE delivers. So this is somehow necessary to have someone to rely on if we need it. And last but not least, we unofficially serve as an incubator for engineering, which means that many of our colleagues, for example, from labs, started as L3 engineers. So if you join us, you have somewhere to grow. And all this sounds like I'm doing an advertisement for a job in L3, which I'm trying to, but I have to say that we don't have currently any open position, but of course this may appear. To mention at least some of the cons, and I've removed the cons page. So if so far you had a feeling that Linux is rock stable and it can't crash, after 1 week in L3, you will get rid of this conviction. You'll see so many kernel crashes you wouldn't believe. And this basically is all from my side. So I would be happy to answer any questions if there are some.
Anyone wants to ask any questions? We don't have any questions in the chat right now. But if you want, you can raise your hand and we will be happy to let you ask any questions you might have. If nobody in the audience has any questions, I might have a little question, Aleš. You said that the L3 team serves as the engineering incubator, and I would like to know which teams is it the incubator for? Like, have there been people who have progressed into several teams, and which ones?
I have to admit that the only team I recall as a frequent recipient of L3 teammates is labs. So mostly the kernel.
So the kernel team, right?
And also I have to say that even though we support really a wide variety of products, kernel would be the most frequent one in the end. Or kernel, I mean, uh, yeah, uh, most frequent package to fix.
I see. Yeah, that makes sense. So that makes sense that most people who want to progress would go on to labs, to the kernel team. That actually the next talk that we're gonna have at 5 p.m. will be by Vlastimil Babka from kernel team. So he will be able to tell us about what is it like working in that team. We do have a question in the chat. Does that mean I would need to be interested in the kernel if I were interested in joining the L3 team?
Yeah, well, Yaroslav knows the best, but no, it doesn't mean that. We, as I said, we are almost free to pick the area. So it's definitely not only the kernel. Some people are focused more on kernel, some are focused on, let's say, SUSE manager.